HOA broke into my house, seized my guns, and claimed they were cops. They regret it now. The air was thick with the kind of silence that hums in your ears, the kind that makes you question if the world's holding its breath. It was a Tuesday night, and I was sprawled on my couch, half watching a grainy western on TV, the kind where the hero squints into the sun before a showdown. My little house on the edge of Karen Estetisa cookie-cutter suburban sprawl in nowhere, USA was my fortress, my escape from the world's noise. Or so I thought. The HOA had other plans. Karen Estates wasn't just a neighborhood. It was a cult of clipped lawns and passive-aggressive newsletters. I'd moved here 2 years ago, chasing cheap rent and solitude after a messy divorce. The house was a fixer-upper, with peeling paint and a porch that creaked like it was auditioning for a horror movie. But it was mine. My guns, 3 of them, a shotgun, a hunting rifle, and a pistol were my pride, locked in a safe in the basement. I wasn't some nutcase. I just liked the weight of them, the history they carried. They were my grandfather's, passed down like a family curse. The HOA, though, hated me from day one. My grass was half an inch too long, my mailbox tilted a degree off-center, and my truck's oil stains were apparently a war crime. Karen Mitchell, the HOA president, was the ringletter, a woman with a perm as tight as her grip on the rulebook. She'd leave notes on my door, each one sharper than the last. Mr. Callahan, your porch violates Section 3.2.1 of the Covenant. Mr. Callahan, your vehicle is an eyesore. I ignored them. Big mistake. It started with a knock. Not a polite tap, but a fist-on-wood thud that rattled the windows. I muted the TV, my heart kicking up a notch. The clock read 9:47 p.m. too late for visitors. I grabbed my baseball bat from the corner, not because I was paranoid, but because you don't live alone in a creaky house without a little caution. The knocking didn't stop. It got louder, angrier, like someone was trying to punch through the door. Open up. This is the police, a voice barked. Deep, authoritative, but something about it felt off, like a kid playing dress-up in his dad's uniform. I cracked the door, bat in hand, and saw 3 figures on my porch. 2 men and a woman, all in dark jackets, flashlights blinding me. The woman stepped forward, her face half-shadowed but unmistakable. Karen Mitchell, HOA tyrant, now playing cop. This isn't a game, Karen, I said, gripping the bat tighter. What the hell do you want? She didn't flinch. Mr. Callahan, we have a warrant to search your premises for illegal firearms. Step aside. I laughed a sharp, bitter sound. A warrant? You're not cops. You're the damn HOA. Go home. The taller man, a beefy guy with a buzz cut and a cheap badge pinned to his jacket, shoved a piece of paper at me. It looked official, with a seal and signatures, but I wasn't buying it. We're authorized, he growled. You're in violation of community safety codes. Hand over your weapons. My blood ran hot. You're not taking my guns. Get off my property. Karen's eyes narrowed, her smile cold as a winter ditch. You don't want to make this hard, Jake. We know you've got them. The neighbors saw you cleaning that rifle on your porch last month. Open the door, or we'll open it for you. I slammed the door and locked it. My heart was a jackhammer now. This wasn't just about guns. This was about control, about Karen and her minions thinking they could bully me into submission. I heard them muttering outside, then a loud crackwood splintering. They were breaking in. I ran to the basement, my safe's combination spinning in my head. I wasn't going to shoot anyone, but I wasn't letting them walk all over me either. The shotgun was in my hands when I heard boots on the stairs. Karen's voice echoed down, smug and sharp. Jake, don't make this worse. We're confiscating the weapons for the safety of the community. They burst into the basement, buzz cut, a wiry guy with a twitchy mustache, and Karen, holding a flashlight like it was a scepter. I raised the shotgun, not aiming, just holding it. Back off, I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline. You're not cops. You're trespassing. Buzzcut lunged, faster than I expected. He tackled me, and the shotgun clattered to the floor. Wiry guy grabbed it, and Karen scooped up the rifle from the open safe. You're done, Jake, she said, her voice dripping with triumph. You should have followed the rules. They zip-tied my wrists and dragged me upstairs, tossing me onto my own couch like I was a bag of trash. Karen stood over me, waving that fake warrant. We're the law here, she said. You'll thank us when the neighborhood's safe. I didn't say a word. My mind was racing, piecing together a plan. They weren't cops. No real cop would work with Karen Mitchell. But they had my guns, and they had me tied up. I needed time. I needed help. And then, like a gift from the universe, the doorbell rang. Karen froze. Buzzcut and wiry guy exchanged looks. "Who's that?" Karen snapped. "Probably the real cops," I said, forcing a grin. "You didn't think I'd let you break in without tripping the alarm, did you?" It was a bluff, but it landed. Karen's face paled, and she hissed at Buzzcut to check the door. He crept to the window, peeling back the curtain. "It's some old lady," he muttered. "Let her in," I said. "Unless you want her calling 911. Karen hesitated, then nodded. Buzzcut opened the door, and in shuffled Mrs. Delaney, my nosy neighbor from across the street. She was 80 if she was a day, always in a floral housecoat, always watching the neighborhood like a hawk. I'd never been happier to see her. "Jake, dear," I saw lights, she said, her voice quavering but her eyes sharp. "Is everything all right?" Karen stepped forward, all smiles. "Everything's fine, ma'am. We're conducting a routine inspection." Mrs. Delaney squinted at her. "Inspection? At this hour? You don't look like police." I seized the moment. "They're not, Mrs. Delaney. They broke in, stole my guns, and zip-tied me. Call the cops." Karen's smile vanished. "Don't listen to him. He's dangerous." But Mrs. Delaney wasn't buying it. She pulled a flip phone from her pocket, God bless her, and started dialing. Buzzcut lunged for her, but she was quicker than she looked, dodging him and scooting toward the door. "I'm calling my son," she shouted. "He's a sheriff." That was the twist I didn't see coming. Mrs. Delaney's son, Tommy, wasn't just a sheriff, was the sheriff, the kind of guy who'd arrest his own mother for jaywalking. Karen's crew panicked. Wiry guy bolted for the back door, clutching my rifle. Buzzcut grabbed Karen's arm, yelling, "We gotta go." They ran, leaving me zip-tied on the couch, my guns gone, and Mrs. Delaney trembling, but still on the phone. "Tommy's coming," she said, patting my shoulder. "You hang tight, Jake." 10 minutes later, the real cops showed up, 12 deputies and Tommy himself, a mountain of a man with a mustache that could intimidate a bear. I told them everything, my wrists still bound, my voice shaking with rage. Tommy listened, his face darkening with every word. "Karen Mitchell," he said, "that woman's been a thorn in my side for years. They cut me loose and searched the house. My guns were gone, but the deputies found Karen's fake warrant crumpled on the floor. It was a photocopy, forged with a stolen seal from the county clerk's office. Tommy swore he'd have warrants out for Karen and her goons by morning. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next day, the neighborhood was buzzing. Karen had vanished, her house dark, her car gone. Buzzcut and Wiry Guy were nowhere to be found. The HOA sent out an email claiming Karen had stepped down for personal reasons, but nobody bought it. Rumors flew. Some said she'd fled to Mexico, others that she was hiding in her sister's basement. I didn't care. I just wanted my guns back. Then, a week later, I got a package. No return address, just a plain brown box on my porch. Inside was my pistol, polished to a shine, with a note, "Sorry, Jake. We didn't know." No signature, but I recognized the handwriting. Wiry Guy's, from the fake warrant. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Tommy's investigation dug deeper. Turns out, Karen wasn't just a power-hungry HOA president. She'd been running a scam, using her fake community safety patrols to extort neighbors, seizing anything valuable under the guise of code violations. My guns were just the latest haul. The cops found a storage unit in her name, stuffed with everything from jewelry to power tools, all taken from Karen Estate's residents too scared to fight back. But here's where it gets messy. Tommy tracked Karen to a motel on the edge of town. She was alone, no sign of Buzzcut or Wiry Guy. When the cops moved in, she didn't resist, just sat there, crying, clutching a photo of her late husband. Turns out, he'd been a cop, killed in the line of duty 10 years ago. Karen's obsession with control, with safety, was her twisted way of keeping his memory alive. She'd convinced herself she was protecting the neighborhood, even if it meant breaking every rule she claimed to uphold. I should have felt sorry for her. Maybe part of me did. But when Tommy offered to let me press charges, I didn't hesitate. She'd broken into my house, stolen my property, and terrorized me. Grief doesn't excuse that. The trial was a circus. Karen's lawyer painted her as a grieving widow, a pillar of the community gone astray. The jury didn't buy it. She got 5 years for burglary, fraud, and impersonating an officer. Buzzcut and wiry guy turned themselves in, cutting deals to testify against her. My guns were returned, though the shotgun's barrel was scratched, a permanent reminder of that night. But the real gut punch came later. Mrs. Delaney, my unlikely hero, passed away a month after the trial. Heart attack, sudden and quiet. I went to her funeral, standing in the back, watching her son Tommy choke back tears. She'd saved me, not just by calling the cops, but by reminding me that even in a place like Karen Estates, there were people who cared. I still live in that creaky house. The HOA's under new management, and they leave me alone now. My grass is still too long, my mailbox still tilts, but nobody complains. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on my porch with a beer, staring at the stars, wondering how it all went so wrong. Karen thought she was the law. I thought I could ignore her. We were both wrong, and now she's in a cell, and I'm here, haunted by the weight of it all. The months after Karen's trial were a blur of whispers and sideways glances. Karen Estates tried to move on, but the neighborhood felt like a cracked mirror still functional, but you could see the fracture in every reflection. I'd walk to my mailbox, and neighbors would nod, tight-lipped, like they weren't sure if I was the hero or the villain. I wasn't sure either. My guns were back in the safe, but every time I touched them, I felt the ghost of that night, the splintered door, Karen's smug voice, Mrs. Delaney's trembling hand on her flip phone. I tried to settle back into routine. Work at the auto shop, beers on the porch, westerns on TV. But the house didn't feel like a fortress anymore. It was just a house, creaky and tired, holding too many memories. I started noticing things I'd ignored before. The way the neighbors' curtains twitched when I pulled into my driveway. The way the new HOA president, a nervous guy named Greg, avoided eye contact at the annual meeting. They were scared of me. Or maybe they were scared of what I represented, a crack in their perfect suburban bubble. Then came the second twist, the one that turned my world upside down again. It was a Saturday, gray and drizzly, when I found a letter slipped under my door. No envelope, just a folded sheet of paper, the kind you tear from a spiral notebook. The handwriting was shaky, unfamiliar. Jake, meet me at the old oak on Maple Street. Midnight. I know what really happened. A friend. I should have tossed it. Should have called Tommy and let him handle it. But curiosity is a hell of a drug, and I was itching to know who this friend was. Maple Street was 2 blocks over, the oak a gnarled giant that marked the edge of the neighborhood. Kids carved their initials into it. Old-timers said it was older than the town itself. Midnight felt like a setup, but I wasn't about to walk into it blind. I tucked my pistol into my waistband, not to use it, just to feel its weight, and headed out. The street was empty when I got there, the oak looming like a sentinel in the mist. The drizzle had turned to a light rain, soaking my jacket. I checked my watch, 11:58. My hand hovered near the pistol, my eyes scanning the shadows. Then I heard Ida rustle, soft but deliberate, from behind the tree. Jake! A voice, low and hesitant. A figure stepped out, hood up, face obscured. Small, slight, maybe a woman. Don't shoot. I'm not here to hurt you. Who are you? I kept my hand on the pistol, my voice steady. She pushed back her hood, and I nearly dropped the gun. It was Ellie, Karen's daughter. I'd seen her, maybe twice in 2 years, a quiet teenager who kept to herself, always hurrying past my house with her head down. She was 16, maybe 17 now, with her mother's sharp cheekbones, but none of her venom. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. Ellie? What the hell are you doing out here? I asked, lowering my hand, but not my guard. I know what my mom did, she said, her voice breaking. I know she broke into your house. I know about the guns. But there's more, Jake. You don't know the whole story. My stomach twisted. What story? Your mom's in prison. It's over. She shook her head, rain dripping from her hair. It's not over. She wasn't alone. Not really. Someone else was pulling the strings. I laughed, but it came out hollow. What? Like a conspiracy? Come on, Ellie. Your mom was a control freak who went too far. No, she snapped, her voice suddenly sharp. She was desperate. Dad's death broke her, but it was the money that pushed her over the edge. She owed people, Jake. Bad people. They told her to get your guns, said they'd wipe her debt if she did. I stared at her, the rain cold on my skin. Who's they? I don't know their names, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. But they're not from here. They came to our house a few months before that night. Big guys, suits, no badges. They gave her cash, told her to start this safety patrols. Said it was for the community, but it was a front. They wanted stuff guns, jewelry, anything they could sell. Your guns were the big prize. My head spun. Karen, a pawn? It didn't add up. She'd been so sure of herself, so in control. But Ellie's eyes were wide, pleading, and I saw something in them, fear. Yes, but also truth. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I'm scared, she said. They're still out there. And they know I know. I didn't want to believe her. I wanted to go back to my couch, my westerns, my quiet life. But Ellie was shaking, her hands stuffed in her pockets like she was trying to hold herself together. I couldn't walk away. Come with me, I said. We'll talk to Tommy. She hesitated, then nodded. We walked back to my house, the rain soaking us both. Inside, I made her coffee, and she told me everything. How Karen had changed after her husband's death, how the debts piled up, medical bills, funeral costs, a second mortgage. How these men in suits showed up, offering a way out. How Karen had recruited buzzcut and wiry guy, not knowing they were reporting back to someone else. Ellie had overheard it all, hiding in her room, too scared to speak up until now. I called Tommy. He showed up in his sheriff's truck, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Ellie repeated her story, and I watched his face harden. I knew something was off, he said. Karen's scam was too organized for a one-woman show. But we didn't have proof. Ellie's proof, I said. She's a witness. Tommy shook his head. She's a kid. And she's Karen's kid. No judge is going to take her word without evidence. Then we get evidence, I said, my voice sharper than I meant. I'm not letting this go, Tommy. They broke into my house. They could come back. He sighed, rubbing his temples. All right, I'll dig into it. But you stay out of it, Jake. And you, he pointed at Ellie. You stay safe. No more midnight meetings. Ellie nodded, but I could see the fear in her eyes. She went home, and Tommy promised to put a deputy on her street. I didn't sleep that night. The pistol sat on my nightstand, loaded, a reminder that my fortress wasn't safe anymore. The next week was a blur of dead ends. Tommy's team traced the storage unit, but it was empty, cleaned out days after Karen's arrest. Buzzcut and wiry guy claimed they didn't know anything about men in suits, and the cops had no leverage to make them talk. Ellie stopped answering her phone, and when I knocked on her door, her aunt said she'd gone to stay with relatives out of state. I didn't buy it. Something felt wrong. Then, one night, I got a call from a blocked number. A man's voice, low and smooth, like he was reading a script. Jake Callahan, you're asking too many questions. Let it go, or you'll end up like Karen. I gripped the phone, my heart pounding. Who is this? Doesn't matter, he said. You've got a nice house. Be a shame if it burned down. The line went dead. I sat there, staring at the pistol, my hands shaking. This wasn't just about guns anymore. It was about survival. I went to Tommy the next morning, told him about the call. He traced it, burner phone, no leads. But he believed me. These guys are pros, he said. Not local. Probably tied to a bigger operation. We need to be smart. Smart. I snapped. They threatened to burn my house down, Tommy. I'm not sitting here waiting for them to make a move. He leaned forward, his voice low. You want to fight back? Fine. But we do it my way. I've got a contact in the FBI, someone who deals with organized crime. I'll loop them in. But you need to lay low. I didn't want to lay low. I wanted to find these bastards, make them regret ever stepping foot in Karen Estates. But Tommy was right, I was out of my depth. So I nodded, went home, and waited. Days turned into weeks. The FBI got involved, but they moved slow, like they were wading through molasses. Ellie came back, quieter now, her eyes hollow. She wouldn't talk about where she'd been, but I saw the weight she carried. I started checking on her, bringing her groceries, making sure her aunt's house was locked up tight. It wasn't just about protecting her, it was about redeeming myself, proving I wasn't just the guy who got his gun stolen. Then, one night, it all came crashing down. I was on my porch when I saw the glow orange and angry, lighting up the sky. Ellie's house was on fire. I ran, my heart in my throat, screaming her name. Neighbors poured out, phones in hand, calling 911. I kicked in the door, smoke choking me, and found Ellie on the floor, coughing but alive. I dragged her out, my lungs burning, my eyes streaming. The fire department saved the house, but it was gutted. Ellie's aunt was out of town, thank God, but Ellie was a wreck. She stayed with me that night, sleeping on my couch. her face streaked with soot and tears. "They did this," she whispered, "because I talked. I didn't have words. All I had was rage." The next day, Tommy told me the fire was arson gasoline, deliberate. The FBI was closing in, he said, but it wasn't enough. I went to my safe, pulled out the shotgun, and made a decision. I wasn't waiting anymore. I tracked down wiry guy real name Carl, a lowlife who'd flipped on Karen to save his own skin. He was at a dive bar on the edge of town, nursing a beer. I cornered him, the shotgun in a duffel bag at my feet. "Talk," I said. "Who's behind this?" He was drunk, scared, and spilling everything. The men in suits were part of a syndicate moving guns and drugs through small towns like ours. Karen was their puppet, but I was their real target. Me guns were rare, collector's items, worth a fortune on the black market. Carl didn't know names, but he gave me a location, a warehouse, 30 miles out. I wanted Tommy with it. He didn't want me involved, but I wasn't giving him a choice. We staked out the warehouse with 2 FBI agents, watching from a van as men in suits loaded crates into a truck. It was them. I knew it. The bust went down fast. FBI swarmed, arrests were made, and my guns, along with a dozen others, were found in the crates. The syndicate was bigger than we thought, stretching across 3 states. Karen had been a small cog in a big machine, and now that machine was crumbling. But the victory felt hollow. Ellie moved away, too scared to stay. Tommy retired, worn out by the fight. And me? I sold the house. I couldn't stay in Karen Estates, not with the memories of fire and betrayal. I moved to a cabin in the mountains, where the only rules are the ones I make. Looking back, I wonder who was right. Karen thought she was saving the neighborhood, but she destroyed it. I thought I was defending my home, but I nearly lost everything. The syndicate thought they were untouchable, but they're in cuffs now. And Ellie? She was just a kid caught in the crossfire, braver than any of us. What do you think? Was I right to fight back, or should I have let it go? Was Karen a villain, a victim, or both? Share your thoughts, I want to hear them.